Hello, this is T.L. Havens with the Trubro Group, and today we're going to talk about the second E in the family of E's. The first part of the series, or the first episode, we talked about energy. Okay, now energy is the amount of power, just to recap, the amount of power that is accessible for action. Power being the ability to act. So keep in mind the A's that are defining these E's. Okay, so the energy is the amount of power that is accessible for action. Today we're going to talk about exertion. Now I want to go back to time because I hear this all, like every experience I have when I listen to a business coach, when I listen to a life coach, when I listen to people talk about their work, they talk about how they spend their time, how they sell their time. Okay, even I say, well, I want you to think about how you sell your time. Scrap that. You don't sell something you don't own. You don't own time. Okay, and you don't have control over your lifespan. You can't quantify that. Okay, time is a meter, a measurement device. That is it. And time measuring devices have changed over the course of history. Now, I'm not talking about the watch versus the iPhone versus the water. What would you call that? It was I think the Egyptians had it. The water vases that would empty into others. And they were like throughout the hours of the day. So each one was an hour in the day. Okay? At some periods in history, we had 8-day weeks. Now we have 7. We have 5-day work weeks and 2-day weekends. How'd that come about? Well, that came about Mr. Ford recognizing the Jewish religious days, and the fact that we come from an agricultural era to an industrial era. People didn't know what to do with their extra time, so they drank. So then they were coming to work, still drunk on Monday morning. And so employers started giving them Saturday afternoon off so that they could recover and hopefully come to work Monday morning sober. So that's kind of a couple of factors in how the 2-day weekend came about. Point being is, time, like money, changes. The Roman area that has come and gone. The dollar will come and go. We see a plethora of now cryptocurrency. And there's 101 arguments. The primary being, well, it's not controlled by the government or a government body or a government entity or however somebody wants to phrase it. But it's all fiat money because fiat's defined as it's not connected to something such as gold, and Nixon took us off the gold standard. Well, there was two stages of taking us out. FDR took us off, and basically I think it said you couldn't trade it like currency wise, but it was still connected to the value of gold, like a dollar. You could go exchange for a portion of gold. Nixon took us off that in the 70s, I believe, if I get that correct. So it's fiat money, meaning it's not connected to anything of value. Yet I would say that it is connected to things of value because as the world agrees that time is a meter that we can organize ourselves with, we also agree that there are currencies that we will use to buy products and services for. One of them being the US dollar, more and more cryptos being accepted, and like the euro, the yen, the peso, whatever, currency you want to talk about. But time is not something you control. It's not something you own. Therefore, you can't sell it. Because if you could sell time, so, what am I selling my time for? Well, then somebody would have more time and I would have less because I've sold a lot of my time. What you're doing is you're using time as a meter to gauge your lifespan, but that's really not what you're gauging. You're gauging your energy. And that's really not what you're gauging. You're gauging your exertion. Because you have to, in order, see, energy is the amount of power you have that's accessible for action, but exertion is the activation of that energy through action. Okay? So when you exert and you activate the energy through action, you're expending the energy. So that's what exertion is. You're expending the energy. And that's what somebody pays you for. So when you exert your energy, when you activate your energy by creating a book that you sell. And therefore, now people are buying your books when you're sleeping, because you're not selling your energy, you're selling your knowledge. And you put your energy into the knowledge package one time, and then that knowledge, now people are buying the knowledge, not the energy. So you control the knowledge, you sell the knowledge, you control the energy, and you sell the energy as you exert it. Stop being brainwashed if you're a W-2 employee. Stop being brainwashed if you're headed down the entrepreneurial path. Stop being brainwashed if you're going to have a business through acquisitions and start a search fund and have investors and buy a business. Stop thinking in terms of time, because you'll get really depressed. Because when you reach my age, which really is middle-aged, okay, when you're in your 40s, you start looking back at your 20s and you start saying, well, man, I still feel really good for the most part, but I wish I'd have known what I know. I wish I'd have known then what I know now. And some people are smarter than me. They see opportunities for me and they get on it, and they're millionaires by the time they're 25, 30 years old. More power to them. I did not have anybody teaching me. My parents are wonderful people, but there was not this information around me, okay? I had to grow out of this. My sister and I had to grow out of this. All right? And I grew out of this because I, for a long time, hated it, but I was born with a rare heart condition. Yet I became a cop when I was 40. I trained with masters in the martial arts when I was in my early 20s. So, I mean, I had great experiences. I mean, just because I didn't make $10 million when I was 25 didn't mean that I wasn't living a great life. I was living a great life because people that had $10 million couldn't have bought the position that I had in life and what I was doing, because I have still to this day a lot of respect and a lot of friendships from people that they couldn't buy the friendship for. Okay? I can do things that they can't do. So it's not about comparing. So I'm not trying to compare. We don't compare. Stop comparing. My mother used to tell me all the time, she'd give me good advice, so stop comparing. But what I'm saying is I'm not regretful that I didn't have a great life. I wish, you start thinking, well, I wish I'd have known this, I'd have made a lot more money back then, And some people make money and see that, and other people live other ways and more fulfilling ways. And I lived a very fulfilling life. But I was born with a heart condition. And as I had that heart condition, I had to learn another E in the family of E's, which was efficiency. But I didn't learn about efficiency. I could not learn about efficiency unless I learned about energy and exertion, okay? And exertion being the activation of the energy through action. I had to conserve my energy. I had to allocate my energy wisely when I went to do physical activity, okay? So now as I'm on the entrepreneurial path and I'm seeing how people are just brainwashed. They're brainwashed into thinking that they're selling their time. You don't, like I said, you don't own your time. You own your energy. You don't even own your lifespan, okay? you can impact your lifespan. You can have healthy habits. Okay? You can work out. You can eat right. Drink lots of water. Follow medical advice. And even then, you might face something like cancer. Okay? That is a sad situation, but no more sad than my daughter having a prosthetic or me having a heart condition. Every one of us is going to face death. Every one of us, our bodies are going to break down. It's going to break down at different times. It's going to break down in different ways. The problem is, how are we going to deal with that? And how are we going to maintain a level of energy that we can sell, that we can produce money for us? Now, there is a phrase, and I want to put this in here because this has to do with exertion. Poor people work for their money. Rich people make money work for them. And that has everything to do with exertion. Okay? Because if I can limit the amount of energy I put into something, then I have a greater amount of power because I have more energy, because I have a greater amount of power that's accessible for action. I can exert more. And because I'm delegating, or I'm not delegating, but I'm allocating my energies in very specific ways, which is actually just as important as allocating your funds to work for you. Once you start getting this concept down, no matter what you face in your lifespan, you're going to be able to handle it, and it's going to this is going to become a part of your life strategies and systems. Okay, so you be the boss of your life. It's now not, you see your life as a business. You see your personal finance as a business. And even though you're not, and the other thing, let me just put this out there. Business should benefit other people, your customers, okay? But why do we get into business? Why do we go to work? We go to work and we go into business for what? People say financial freedom. There's no such thing. You're always going to have bills. You're always going to have obligation. And let me tell you something. What people are defining when they're saying financial freedom is not what they think it is. Okay? People don't know themselves. They really don't. Financial freedom has to do with one of the family of E's that we're going to talk about in a different, down the line. So if this is episode 2, in a later episode, we're going to talk about the effectiveness ratio. Okay? Now, this is going to relate also to the financial triangle when you look at the series of the personal finance and financial triangle, which you can also apply to business. We need to treat our personal lives like a business. We need to look at it very clinically, if you will. And so that's the way I grew up with my heart condition, looking at my energy, looking at how I exerted my energy, looking at how I allocated my energy to get something done physically, because I would run out of energy faster than a person who had a normal heart. So I was raised very healthy. My parents my grandparents, great-grandparents, everyone around me helped take very good care of me. I ate very well. I was very active. I had fantastic doctors looking over me. So I was very blessed when it come to that. But I realized at a very, 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 and I'm talking a very young age, we're talking like kindergarten age, that I had to really pay attention to where I put my energy and how I used my energy. I did not know the word allocation at that time, but I knew I needed to watch that. And I knew I needed to pay attention to how I exerted my energy, how I activated the energy through action. Okay? So that's the second E of the family of E's, is exertion. So you have energy, and what are you going to do with it? Energy is the amount of power that's accessible for action, and power is the ability to act. So it's the amount of the ability you have to act that's accessible for action, in other words. And 2 is exertion. It's the activation. So energy is the amount of, exertion is the activation of the energy through action. Okay? Now, exertion is different than effort. And in the next episode, we're going to talk about effort. And it would be the third E in the family of E's. All right? But please, please, please stop allowing yourself to continue the thought that you sell time and that you have your time and that God has his time. It's a fallacy. It's a brainwash that you've been given. And honestly, it allows people to have power over you, whether they know it or not, whether you know it or not. And stop thinking you control time. Stop thinking you own time. Stop thinking that you sell time. You do not own, control, or sell time. Time is a gauge. Time is a meter. It is subjective relationally to other objects and people and activities going on. That is it. But you do control your energy. You do control where you exert, how you activate that energy. You do control the allocation of your energy. You do sell your energy. But you do not sell your time. You do not own your lifespan. You have a lifespan, but it's not something that you can sell. Otherwise, other people would buy it up because they would realize, hey, this is the fountain of youth. I can be immortal and buy everybody else's time, and I have all the time, and they have like none. But I'll give them a little bit so that they think they're doing well. And we'll keep the illusion that, oh, well, everybody dies at some point, but then eventually I'll have all the time. And it'll be a Bill Gates or something like that. But we don't sell time. Otherwise, these people would be immortal. You do not sell time. Stop the brainwash. Stop the idiocy. I feel like Susan Powers. Remember that? Stop the insanity. It's insanity. Stop the insanity. You don't do it. Don't sell time. You don't own time. Time's not a thing to possess. But energy is. So we need to back up. We need to retrain our brain. And now that we know what we have, now we can start looking at the business. Now we can start looking at our personal finance. Now we can start really saying, what exactly do I mean when I say financial freedom? Wait. Now I can see how this relates to the effectiveness ratio. You go, what's the effectiveness ratio? Wait till that episode comes out, because it will come out here shortly. Thank you for watching. My name's T.L. Havens with the Truboro Group, and next episode we're going to be talking about effort with the family of E's. Once this series is done, we're going to get into the financial triangle. So stick with us here, and if you have any comments, please like and subscribe. And let me know what questions, concerns you have. You're not going to change my mind on this deal. You can argue with me in the comments all you want. I'm just going to delete those comments. Because I know what truth is. And so, not to be argumentative, but we're not going to allow that sort of thing here. I am here to share what I know. And this is truth. So we have to get really real with ourselves in order to be effective, productive. So go make a great day. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. And if you need me for any kind of business consultation, business coaching, whatever, just reach out. Let me know. I'll help you in any way I can. Go make a great day. Thank you for watching.